At this point, we have this portion for question and answers. If you have any question to our speaker, first on the Philippine education landscape and also about paint products, you could ask now. Wala. So ako muna. While you're preparing your question, siguro I would ask Joey, were you able to do some benchmarking with the ASEAN region on the state of their education, especially on architecture? Of course, we have identified some competencies that our graduates should have. Does it also match with our ASEAN counterparts?
Thanks, Dinlo. I have came across a journal prepared by a Myanmar educator, architect educator, and basically they are still in similar situation where they try to fine-tune their program in order for them to be able to meet the integration timeline. However, we tried to communicate with Singapore and Malaysia, but unfortunately they're not able to respond quick enough so I could be able to present it vis-a-vis our own program. But we have heard from some of the PRC people that Singapore is first and foremost very well prepared for this one, and those who are lagging behind are the countries like Laos, Myanmar, as far as I know, the two countries. No? So Philippines, we are not left behind. Mabilis po yung gobyerno natin umaksyon doon sa framework na nire-require so that we could be able to prepare for this integration. I'm just talking for the architecture education because I was able to talk to Commissioner YDR Yoli Reyes and some CHED personnels. No? So I'm speaking about the education preparation. So well prepared po, wala po talagang problema. And in fact, we are very confident that isa po tayo sa mangunguna when it comes to being able to harness the skills of our students and future architects. But in fact is probably we need to brush up on information campaign, that this whole thing is ongoing, and for the teachers to be able to probably create a massive nationwide program of probably updating the skills of our educators so that the expected we cannot do that if the facilitator of the program is not competitive enough in terms of the skills and the knowledge, for this whole program of integration.
We have one architect.
Hello. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Edgar M. Chavez. I'm practicing architect and part-time faculty member. I don't have really a question regarding your presentation. Actually, I would like to commend you for the research work, and I believe that research should continue. But I would like to share my experience again regarding OBE, because one of my work is I'm an accreditor for architecture, and I have evaluated a lot of schools, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, different architectural schools, but I will not mention the schools. My worry about OBE, it's on the part of the academe, there should be, especially on the part of the implementers, the school should have 100 full support, otherwise it will not be successful. But what I'm concerned most is the implementer, the faculty members. Based on my experience, because what we have is traditional instruction, which is teacher-centered. In OBE, it should be student-centered. So you'll see the difference between traditional instruction and OBE approach. My worry about OBE is faculty members should learn by heart what is OBE, because what I have observed, because several schools are now implementing OBE, but what I have observed, faculty members are not doing OBE inside the classroom, probably because they don't really understand what is OBE. OBE is difficult to implement. If you don't have educational background, academic preparation, you're just a technical architect who is teaching, it will be very difficult. That's why I encourage schools to really equip faculty members to understand by heart, not just have knowledge of what is OBE. Otherwise, no matter how good is your syllabi or your curriculum, at the end of the day, it will become a failure because at the first place, faculty member doesn't understand by heart what is OBE inside the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I concur with your observation. In fact, last week I was invited by Dean Chona Ponce of NU College of Architecture to do an OBE module for their faculty development. And I just mentioned to them, to the faculty members, outcomes-based education can succeed if the teacher or the facilitator is also an outcomes-based educator. So you cannot expect an outcomes-based program to succeed if the facilitator, is not an OB educator. So talaga pong, probably those not in the academe may not find this quite interesting enough, no? But we would like to share, no? We particularly, I requested the facilitators, no, to the evaluators of the papers submitted for presentation to at least give one slot for archi education para po maintindihan, no? So that all the architects, particularly those in the active practice, would understand what we are trying to produce as graduates. Para po yung inyong practice, when you hire future architects or employees, you understand the competencies that they have because of how it is rolled out in the education sector. So, sir, it was, I would agree to your observation. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Yes, architect. Siguro I'll read muna one of the...
Yeah.
Okay, sige.
Sir Joey, I'm Muslay Senyo from Adams University, President of UP Max chapter. I have a question kasi OBE means outcomes-based education, and it should be that the graduate, that the architecture student, upon finishing his BS architecture course, should be able to meet the skills that is needed in the industry, right?
Yes, sir.
The problem here is that honestly, no, hindi lahat ng educators are practicing architects. So, how can an educator who is not practicing, actually, di nakapag-design, di nakapagtayo ng isang building, can come up with OBE syllabus kung mismong siya ay hindi man lang nakahandle ang project. Parang ganon. Di lahat ng architect professors are nagpa-practice. Yun ang Yun ang reality ngayon. So of course, if you will be making a syllabus for revised curriculum, paano gagawa yung faculty na yon ng expectations sa estudyante na dapat ma-achieve kung siya mismo hindi niya nagawa as a professional. Hanggang libre lang. Yun ang ibig ko sabihin.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question. And I also agree and I concur with your observation. It's high time that we in the academy must be able to qualify those who are teaching to also should be practicing. And in fact, in the ASEAN integration, according to Honorable Commissioner Yoli Reyes, they are preparing actually 2 tracks of PQF, Philippine Qualification Framework, where the education track, you are expected to accomplish your BS, your Masters, and PhD to reach to level 8. What's interesting is Commissioner Reyes also mentioned that they in PRC is preparing, they are preparing rather, qualification framework for those in the active practice, so that your projects may qualify in the various levels, reaching level 8 PQF. Therefore, with these 2 qualifications mode, we'll be able to encourage more people to, brush up on their education and at the same time be in the active practice. Therefore, we encourage those with a very active practice to join the academe, because that's what we actually need. Unfortunately, we have a shortage of faculty members who are also active in the practice, because sad to say, no, I mean, forgive me for this, but a lot of people think there is this notion na pag wala kang project, magturo ka na lang. That's very sad, no, because hindi po lahat ng nagtuturo lamang only ay walang project. Hindi po totoo yun. Pero tama rin si Sly nung sinabi niya na marami rin na kaya nagtuturo kasi walang project. So we encourage people, you here in the hall, if you have concern with the fate of our architecture practice, please share your knowledge, be mentors, try to have a few loads from the 99 schools that are present in the country. So you get to have your share. Magkaroon ka ng ambag. No, let's not put the notion that busy ako sa project, hindi ako magtuturo. Parang ganon. Or kaya naman nagtuturo yung mga yan, walang project eh. So we are not helping the industry if we say that. So yeah, sad truth is may mga mahirap i-implement ang OBE kung wala kang active practice, because you're trying to inject the necessary skills, not just skills but knowledge and the values to future architects. And you can only do this if you yourself would have that skill, would have the same knowledge because of your expertise or experience in the field.
Thank you, Sir Joey. We have a follow-up question based from your response. Kasi sa academe, no, for example, bihira ka makakita ng practicing architect na willing magturo sa school kasi napakadaming school paperworks, requirements. Lalo sa OBE, kailangan magsabit ng syllabus for accreditation, for example. The problem here right now is that for full-time faculty members in architecture in the Philippines, pag full-time ka, you're given 24 to 30 hours per week. So how come a faculty member be globally competitive, no? Alam niya dapat yung mindset ng OBE kapag di man lang pagod na siya or paano siya makapag-practice pa, for example, sa mga academe. Kasi syempre, we are encouraging practitioners to be part of the academe kahit part-time lang. What about for those full-time faculty members? Is there any way na magawa ng CODHAS, for example, na ma-deload, example lang, ang mga faculty members na full-time para at least they can have more time for their professional practice as well?
The Dean should answer this.
Yes.
Hindi ako yung speaker eh. Anyway, related to that, several years back, there was a headhunter from Malaysia who's interviewing most of the deans and heads and some senior faculty for a job in Malaysia as faculty. And I was interviewed, and during the interview, he was amazed that faculty in the Philippines are allowed to practice their profession or to be employed other than the school. That means when you're a faculty in Malaysia, you're not allowed to practice your profession. So that was their explanation. So I guess they have higher salary scale for faculty members in Malaysia because they could still get, and you would notice that the faculty members in Malaysia have PhDs already because they are not actually, they are not allowed to practice architecture. They really have to focus sa ano lang, teaching lang. When I also went to Beijing, if you look at the faculty members, the role of faculty members, all of them have PhD. Kasi talagang nakafocus sila on education. And does that mean that they don't know how to design, they don't have actual practice, that they cannot, that they cannot deliver proper instruction? That should be a subject for research, I guess, kasi everything would be baka perception lang natin lahat. So with regards to CODHAS, I'm not actually officer of CODHAS. I should not be speaking for CODHAS, but we just follow the PSG from CHED, kung ano yung maximum number of hours for faculty, that's the maximum. If you have projects, you have the delikadesa na mag-underload ka or you take just a leave of absence for a semester, di ba ganon? Yun yung professional ethics that no amount of regulation from CHED or from the school could or force you to do that. Kasi gusto mong maging professional, so you unload yourself if you cannot handle both. So I'm in the academe. Of course, I could not practice as much because there are so many. If the faculty members think that, nako, these are all paperworks, all these OBE requirements are all paperworks, mas lalo na yung deans. Mas maraming paperwork yon. So, you really have to follow your heart. Saan ka ba happy? Will you be happy in the academe or you will be happy in the practice? And you have the capability to do both things, that would be a plus for the academe, also for the architecture practice in the Philippines. No? Kasi pangit yung practice without meaning, without intellectual underpinnings of the design. Talagang both are important. Even for practicing architects, you really have to read more, research more, and really digest what you're doing. There should be an intellectual and philosophical meaning to sobra na daw, 5 minutes lang. So, I have to wrap up this session. Sorry na excite. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your technical expertise with regards to your paint products. And also thank you to Joey for sharing his studies on Philippine readiness for ASEAN integration, particularly architecture education.